December. In December 2012, television screens across the world carried the news of yet another horrifying gang rape in Delhi, the rape capital of India, as it's come to be known. And this time it was a 23-year-old medical student, Jyoti Singh, who had been beaten, gang raped and tortured by 6 men on a moving bus. 11 days after the assault, she was transferred to a hospital in Singapore for emergency treatment, but she died 2 days later. She succumbed to her injuries. She was found with injury marks and bite marks all over the body. One of the accused men admitted to having seen thin rope-like structures assumed to be her intestines being pulled out of the woman's body by one of the rapists, a juvenile, a boy on the bus, a mere boy. The boy who today roams about on the streets of India scot-free because of his juvenile status. 2 blood-stained metal rods were retrieved from the same bus a day later, and the medical staff confirmed that it was the penetration by these that caused massive damage to her genitals, uterus, and her intestines. Such brutality and savageness that it makes me gag even as I speak about it. But it did manage to do one thing. It shook up the entire nation's conscience overnight and brought about major reforms in our country's weak rape laws. I remember I was studying in Delhi at the time when this happened, and I can tell you one thing which happened in Delhi at that time because I myself was there. On the night this heinous crime was committed, Delhi transformed into a living nightmare for each and every woman living there at that time. Women refused to step out of their homes. I, for instance, cancelled all the work that required me to step out of my hostel, which was located inside my college premises. And on 20th of March, day before yesterday, we finally came to the end of this very long and harrowing journey. A journey to justice, not just for Jyoti or Nirbhaya as she came out to be known, but for all the daughters of our country. But I am also at the end of my patience as a woman waiting to be accorded equal value to men, waiting to see an end to this gender-based violence, and also waiting to see just laws being enacted that recognize women as autonomous and worthy of equal respect, if not more. Namaskar and good morning, friends. You are watching CVR English. I am Anukriti Govind Sharma. It's a bright Sunday morning today, and once again it's time for the top breaking news analysis of this week. On 20th of March 2020, just day before yesterday, we witnessed what we had been waiting to witness for 7 years and 3 months. The epic hanging of the 4 rapists and murderers who should have been rightfully hanged way back in 2013. Friends, just a few days ago, a report was also published which declared that India is the most dangerous country for women to live in. In the wake of Nirbhaya's convicts being finally hanged till death, today I am going to analyze this report to see how true and credible it actually is. And let me share this analysis with all of you this Sunday morning. Now let me start by telling you that this survey was conducted by Thomson Reuters Foundation, which is a charitable organization with the Thomson Reuters. If you are not aware of Thomson Reuters, then let me tell you that it is the world's largest news network which is based in Canada. Now the focus of Thomson Reuters Foundation is specifically journalism, and that too particularly in the fields of climate change, women's rights and human trafficking. And they conduct all their research in these 3 specific fields predominantly. The survey, which was titled World's Most Dangerous Countries for Women, conducted by this organization, is a perception poll. Let me tell you, it's a perception poll. It is not based on data and statistics. It is based on the perception of people. And not just any ordinary people for that matter. It is based on the perception of experts. It is based on the opinions and perceptions of these experts. Now, the important thing to understand here is that when you ask an ordinary person about his or her opinion or perception, it is based on his or her life's experiences and surrounding circumstances. But when you ask an expert about their perception pertaining to a particular field, then it holds higher value and credibility in the market because that expert works specifically in that field that your question is pertaining to. That person does research and reads upon facts pertaining to that particular field only. So the perceptions of experts are always based on true facts and not just fiction. So a total of 548 experts participated in the survey and 41 out of these experts were from India. And they answered questions belonging to different categories such as sexual violence, human trafficking, non-sexual violence and women's health, and so on to produce a final ranking. So on the basis of the perceptions of these experts in 2019, India currently stands at number 1, followed by Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, Saudi Arabia and finally Pakistan. The same survey was also conducted in 2011 and at that time, interestingly, India was ranked the 4th most dangerous nation for women. And this time in 2019, which was just a year ago, India stands at the number 1 or the top rank. So it is quite obvious that the situation for women in India has now gone from bad to worse. If we break down this survey into different categories, then India stands at number 1 position for sexual violence, number 1 also for human trafficking, and number 1 for culture and religion being used against women. It stands at number 3 for gender discrimination, and by gender discrimination I'm talking about discrimination which takes place against women with respect to access to education, resources or job opportunities, which means gender discrimination happening on a day-to-day basis in general in our day-to-day lives. And it also stands at number 3 for non-sexual violence and at number 4 for access to health or access to health situations, access to medical opportunities for women. So now the next most important question is, how much truth or credibility is there in this survey which was recently conducted by Thomson Reuters organization? See friends, as far as the credibility of this survey is concerned, first of all let me tell you that Thomson Reuters is a highly credible organization. This company has won several awards for its remarkable work in journalism. For example, in 2015, way back, it won the Asian Environmental Journalism Award for excellent environmental reporting. This company has also won the United Nations Foundation Prize, let me tell you. A lot of awards have already been won by this organization. At the same time, Thomson Reuters also provides exceptional training to journalists in more than 170 countries across the world. Being such a big organization and having its offices throughout the world, I really don't think that this company will want to be intentionally biased. However, a question does arise here. Why are perception polls being conducted so frequently these days? Why can't we simply report on the basis of numbers, data and statistics? World's most dangerous countries for women. Now this is a very serious topic. It's a very grave issue, a very serious survey, and hence a report based on correct data and statistics on paper would be more accurate and credible, right? Are you not thinking the same way? I used to think the same way earlier as well, but then when I conducted my research, I came to a completely different conclusion. Let me tell you that when we talk about crimes being committed, the actual data and statistics don't really help much, especially when we want to compare different countries or states. Let me give you a very interesting example here. An example of one of the states in our very own country. Let us take the case of Kerala, the state which has the highest literacy rate in India. But would you be surprised if I told you that the same state of Kerala also has the highest crime rate in comparison to the other states of India, for example Bihar and Uttar Pradesh? Shocking, right? How come a state with the maximum literacy rate also have the highest crime rate? Highest crime rate now does not mean that you will encounter violence everywhere in Kerala the moment you land there. In fact, Kerala has the highest crime rate because the people of Kerala, mind you, and listen carefully, the people of Kerala believe in reporting the crimes happening here. And the people of Kerala report crimes because they are highly educated and they understand the importance of reporting criminal activities. However, Kerala is actually one of the safest states to live in when compared to the other states of India. So the same principle applies to various other surveys as well. If you start comparing the different countries on the basis of crime statistics, then you will never be able to find out how many crimes are being actually committed in those respective countries. Because crimes committed and crimes reported are two very different things. So if you will compare the data and the statistics for sexual violence, human trafficking and crimes against women from across the world in general, then you will find that the data is very irregular across the countries. You will also discover that the crime rate against women in developed countries from the European Union, for example Sweden, let's take the classical case of Sweden. Now the crime rate in Sweden against women is one of the highest. So does that mean that Sweden is one of the most dangerous countries for women? No, absolutely not. In fact, the opposite is true. Because the people of Sweden report such crimes, the actual or the real crime rate in Sweden is very low, and it is one of the safest countries for women to live in. And that is why when we discuss sensitive topics like world's most dangerous countries for women, then taking the opinions and the perceptions of the experts in this field is actually a very good idea. Because how will we find out how many crimes were not reported, or the police did not allow the people to report such crimes? Friends, this is something which we can never find out. We can never find out the real numbers because they are never reported anywhere and they are not on paper. They have not been documented on paper anywhere. That is why conducting perception polls becomes the best idea here. The Indian National Bar Association conducted a similar perception poll in 2017, in which we discovered that 70% of the women in India are actually afraid to register their sexual harassment cases. So from this survey, you can make a rough estimate about how many women in India, keeping in mind the magnanimous, the humongous population of India, how many women in India are really scared to report such cases in the first place. And on top of that, keeping the social and the cultural fabric of our country in mind, we can also say how many women are stopped from reporting either by their in-laws or husbands or by the police themselves. Having said that, despite the advantages of conducting a perception poll, basically you can never be 100% sure about whether India deserves the #1 rank on this poll or not. A perception poll also comes with its own drawbacks and loopholes, which we will look into now. For example, in this perception poll, which was recently conducted in 2019 about the world's most dangerous countries for women to live in, the details about the educational qualifications of these experts and the fields that they belonged to have not been revealed. So you can say that this survey is quite not so transparent. But despite these drawbacks, keeping all the other facts in mind, I would like to say that generally speaking, this rank which has been accorded to India is quite correct. Well, let's say if not #1 rank, then keeping the current scenario of India in mind and also the super delayed justice meted out to Nirbhaya, despite being the most brutal gang rape in the history of India, a rape which the Honorable Supreme Court itself has termed, and I quote, rarest of the rare rapes, I will say that India definitely makes it in the top 10 most dangerous countries for women across the world. Let's keep the perception polls aside for a minute. Even if we just focus on the traditional statistical polls, for example, female feticide, which is a related criteria on the basis of which this consensus could have been drawn, then India is the 4th worst country according to a 2016 based statistical poll. And this can be found out merely by looking at the sex ratio at birth, which is 112 males to 100 females. This is such a shameful sex ratio at birth, and this is just the recorded data. So this is a statistical data and not based on perception. It's a proper paper-based data. So here you may think that India must be doing better than countries like Somalia, Syria or Afghanistan. But no, friends. If you are going to look at the data, then you will get to know that it is 106 to 100 birth sex ratio in Syria. Afghanistan has 104 to 100 and Somalia has 102 to 100. So India is the worst of all these countries. So don't get astonished to know that India has been ranked more than even the war-zoned countries. The top two countries that actually rank worse than India are China and Armenia here. But once again, for these two countries, the problems are not those which are existent in India, such as the crimes against women. Hence, India's rank goes way higher than China and Armenia. Now, one more statistical data here is the dowry-related deaths. And according to the National Crime Bureau of our country, every year more than 8,000 women die due to dowry-related torture. The most interesting thing behind this is the reaction by the Andhbhakts, the Godi media and the trolls after this news. Trying to find the nano chip in our 2000 rupee notes, Chaudhary Sahab says that the anti-India agenda is being propagated by Thomson Reuters organization these days. On the other hand, a BJP supporter is writing on Twitter, and let me quote her. "All I have experienced is unlimited hospitality, warmth and genuine love. No one has ever tried to molest or abuse me here." And she further goes on to write on Twitter, which I quote, "And therefore, in my opinion, few countries are as safe as India." Did you understand the logic here, friends? This is what I call the Andhbhakt logic. It is like if my eyes are closed, then the whole world around me is also under darkness. It also means that if I have never struggled from hunger, then no one has ever struggled from hunger in India. I would like to show something to such blind people and to such trolls written by their own God. Look at this fundamental tweet by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi from 2013. It goes on like this, and I quote, "India is considered as the fourth most dangerous country for women." So how was this discovered that India is the fourth most dangerous country? Exactly on the basis of the same survey, friends, the same survey which was conducted by the same Thomson Reuters organization. Thomson Reuters survey from 2013 had shown that India is the fourth most dangerous country in the world. So if it was credible and believable enough for Modi ji at that time, and it was also credible for all these blind people, and now in 2020 when Modi ji is in power, and this survey says that India is the worst country, then all these people have become anti-India? So earlier Thomson Reuters was very pro-India. Are we trying to say that? This same thing in 2014 was written by BJP's MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar also, and let me quote him here. "I think India deserves better. Being the fourth most dangerous country in the world for women is quite shameful. Vote for change. Hashtag Rajiv for Nemo." Rajiv ji, it is 2020 now, and India has become the top worst country based on the same survey that you had been sharing on social media back then in 2014. Now can you please raise your voice? Or you don't care now? Or is this just a political game for all of you? Do you really think that the masses, the people of India, are fools? The truth is that, friends, even you will agree that the condition of India has continued to become worse and worse from 2011 all the way up to 2020 to this current day as I am talking to you on your television screens. For the first time, we are witnessing mass protests against rapists, public outcry because of super delayed justice and weak anti-rape laws. Crimes are becoming more and more brutal and savage, including the latest one that shook the entire nation once again with Dr. Priyanka Reddy's assault and rape in Hyderabad. So now let's come to the solution. What is the solution to this problem? First of all, friends, I keep repeating always, and at the cost of sounding repetitive again and again, let me repeat once again. The first step to solving a problem is to admit and accept the fact that there is a problem. Accept the problem. Till we don't accept the problem, we cannot solve it. Let us not deny this report and say that it is wrong. No one is talking about this problem right now or finding solutions by going deep into it and coming to the roots of the problem. On the other hand, Thomson Reuters organization's CEO has given the solution in 3 simple words: education, empowerment, and enforcement. Educate the girls of India, empower them, and enforce the laws made in this country correctly and firmly. I would also like to end my analysis with the same 3 words, my friends: education, empowerment, and enforcement. All of us can start a journey of hope, a new journey of hope with this solution. it can take us finally to that cusp of change. There is just one advice for all of you this Sunday morning. Friends, don't turn blind. Stay vigilant and keep your eyes open. See the reality of what's happening in our country. Share this episode of Top Breaking News Analysis with your family and friends and show them the reality also. Nothing will change and nothing will happen by keeping our eyes closed and thinking that अच्छे दिन तो हमारे देश में चल ही रहे हैं, क्योंकि अच्छे दिन नहीं चल रहे हैं. The country will never change like this. Think about it. We shall meet once again in the next week's Top Breaking News Analysis. तब तक के लिए bye bye and have a great Sunday.